Okay, going back to Terry in Florida. Terry, finishing up your point, because we can't list every county. There's probably 300, 400 counties in those states or more where they haven't filed charges. If it does show neglect by BP to not come in when they had the manpower and block the estuaries, that's a problem. But the bigger issue is our daddy, President Hussein Barry Sitaro, the Kenyan Indonesian citizen, he wants us to be as bad as possible so he can pass a bunch of legislation. He wouldn't let those states fix the problem. But then it falls back on the states. You know, I mean, if my neighbor shows up at my house and says, you're not allowed to breathe unless I give you permission, and then I go and suffocate myself with a plastic bag, I'm a mental patient. So the states need to stop, you know, oh, we're mad at you, federal government. You wouldn't let us fix it. Why are they letting the Indonesian citizen tell us what to do? Terry?
I would say it's because the Indonesian and his buddies at Goldman Sachs are printing their paychecks, and they want their pay, and every good Nazi followed his orders for his paychecks.
I agree with you, Terry. I appreciate your call. Bob Chapman, your take on the states for 40-plus days whining, saying the feds won't let them fix it, and the military makes them count booms for a week and then never puts them out. You know, since when do the feds run everything on the planet Earth?
Well, since a long time, and I'm sure that they're saying that to them. We'll fix the problem. Well, they're not going to do that for the reasons you expressed. It's a false flag operation. Now it's out of hand, and they don't know what to do. And it's going to get worse. And it's going to be disastrous and extraordinarily expensive, never mind all of the sea life and...
Well, flesh that out, Bob, because I respect you, and you don't just come out and say something's a false flag. I mean, I've seen my evidence, but why are you saying false flag?
Because why did Goldman Sachs sell 44% of their BP stock 3 weeks before the incident happened? Why did they short the drill equipment in the Gulf? And why did the president of BP sell 1/3 of his holdings at the same time Goldman Sachs did? And I think he sold it through Goldman. And we don't have any information, but it stands to reason that they both may have bought derivatives to short or short against the box to freeze their positions so that they wouldn't lose any further money. That's what tipped me off.
And it turns out Goldman Sachs, who literally, if somebody slips on a banana peel, 9 times out of the 10, Goldman Sachs laid it there. I mean, every country they're imploding, they're always running. You know, Brazil, Argentina, Greece, I mean, you name it, Iceland, they put their people in government and then steal everything. And it turns out the chairman of BP was the co-chairman until the week before of BP. I mean, this is really getting suspicious, Bob. And then the fact that the feds wouldn't let the states, I mean, the states were there with their own booms about to put them in front of the rivers and estuaries, which can really cause the damage if that oil gets up in there. The ocean, it dissipates, but going into a river, that's, per capita, so much oil, it's much worse. And the feds said no. I mean, this is a false flag, but why do you say it's out of control now?
They have fissures in different areas in the same general region that evidently have been caused by what went on in the well that will essentially say blew up.
And it blew up with such force that it created fissures, or they didn't frack it properly. I don't understand all the terminology, but... guys, will you work next week on getting well-known petroleum geologists and geologists on, and petroleum engineers? I guess a petroleum engineer, though, works at the petroleum facilities. I don't know anymore. Bob, do 5 more minutes with us. We'll take a few more calls. I'm Alex Jones. This is the Insane Asylum. We are back live. We've got the folks from Free Talk Live, a very popular Genesis show. Well, they got 70-something affiliates, so that's really great joining us. They're libertarians, and I was on their show. And I was going to have them on about immigration and the ultra-uber-libertarian view of let's just have open borders. The problem is you put in purely libertarian policies while a socialist system is still in place or a fascist system, and that's the quickest way to slit your throat. 7 ways from Sunday. So we'll be discussing that with him coming up here. Going back to Bob Chapman, though, we've got the Coast Guard hearing reports, and that's actually in my stack from 3 days ago. A caller called in, though, and brought it up, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I meant to cover that, because here I am at home reading this and freaking out, where they said, we've never put a pipe this big on. We've never attached a bigger pipe to a smaller pipe. The Halliburton people were upset, saying this is going to blow up. The other engineers, the operators of the rig were upset. There were arguments, 2 weeks of actual screaming and yelling, and that it appears that BP, and this is on record, ordered them to do things that have never been done, that they wouldn't do with a shallow, low-pressure well, and that everyone basically on the floating rig were just waiting for doom, and were sure doom was coming, and that's the headline. I can't actually quote. Will you guys reprint it? Because I thought it was in my stack. It was an Atlantic Monthly headline a couple days ago because it was quoting the head of the rig as screaming at the BP executive, saying the rig is now on fire. I hope you're effing happy. And I don't normally say the ASS word or the F word here. The president's using it. Oil rig people are using it. It's like in a court. I'm just telling you what was said. And they're screaming at the BP people because whatever they were told to do, they just said, that's going to blow up. So is it pure hubris by BP, believing they're God because the CEO is good at playing golf? He thought he could tell the engineers what to do. Or did they know giving that order would cause this, and then why? In closing, Bob Chapman, why would they want to run this false flag?
I think they want a distraction, and I think that North Korea was one. And I think to an extent, perhaps the Israeli episodes are in the same genre, so to speak. But this is a long-term problem, and it would have been anyway. Now it's going to be 10s and 20s of years. And they want people worried about all of the things that are going to happen to the Gulf or are in process. And if they're thinking about that, they're not worrying about the stock market not going up, the sovereign debt in Europe. They're not worried about the price of gold hitting new highs all the time. The people are distracted. They're doing something else. And as you said earlier, they're going to have a war. And that's another distraction. Of course, it'll also get rid of all those useless eaters. And so they plan these things. I mean, look at Pearl Harbor and so many other instances. I know it's disheartening, but that's what these people do.
Absolutely. They know what they're doing, and they Katie barred the door because so they can maintain control of their financial fraud and gain more control. They are going to pull the stops out. And if Israel has to make a boneheaded move as a distraction for these people, Israel will follow orders. And if BP's got to blow an oil rig sky high by giving people orders they know is going to cause a blowout, probably bigger than they thought, though, is the word. I love Lindsey Williams, but he says that the elite had a Ouija board and they were able to know this was going to happen, is why they pulled out. No, it's an inside job. That's what all the evidence points at. And it's just getting more and more crazy from here. Bob, I hope we're still here next week. Lord willing, we love you. TheInternationalForecaster.com. If folks want to get a free complimentary copy, they can go there and sign up. It's invaluable. They can also call Midas Resources. If they get one gold franc, they get a free year of it. 800-686-2237. 800-686-2237. Bob, you're the best. We'll talk to you next week, sweetie pie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You bet. Take care. All right, we'll be back. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. Free Talk Live, folks, coming up.